Nightwing 119 rolls off the tip of your tongue. On with the show, Eric. Curtain up. Stan Waters writing, Dexter Soy on art, Veronica Gandini colors, Wes Abbott on letters, and it is starting Dan Waters and Dexter Soy's run. And you end up having some crazy deal. I am not a biggest fan of Dexter Soy as most people. I think it looks okay. I think it looks good.
Amazing.
I think it looks better than average, but I really don't like some of the way that he draws some figures and some of the stuff in his panel layout. Kind of drives me nuts at times. Again, people are probably like, the hell are you talking about? But this has been a thing between me and you for quite some time. But the
Since
idea...
Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Yeah. And I did like that at a point, but it was more of the Outsiders book. I think that was that got to me at one point. But the idea where you have this, I don't know, you start off with a little wackiness with the puppeteer.
You have the new villain showing like what he knows about Dick Grayson, which is apparently everything for his organization, Cirque du Sin.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that that's not just a faux pas. That the idea that he should know everything. Batman, Robin, all those. Because he knows Dick Grayson is Robin and goes.
Exactly. He knows everything about it. He's doing a little puppet act first to show us the whole thing, a little marionette bit. And it seems that when, Dick's parents died, they had almost like the Court of Owls situation where the Cirque du Sin, whatever it may be, were planning to bring Dick Grayson into this whole
Everybody
thing.
was giving him, going to bring him in, it seems. That's why, again, I don't mind. And it's always going to be circus shit. And it is. It's chilly for Oliver Circus for Dick, but it is.
No, it's a little bit different because where the, I just realized I was a little bit off because I was thinking of the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls wanted to scoop him up to be the next Talon, but Batman came in and adopted Dick Grayson and brought him in. It's when Dick Grayson became Robin that the puppeteer or the puppet master, whatever we're going to call this guy right now. That's when he knew that he belonged to the Cirque du Sin.
Yeah, again, it still does to me feel a bit like the Court of the Owls, and it kind of feels like, okay, we'll see where that goes. And then he says on with the show, Eric, and pulls the deal, and then we
pulls
see
the curtain back.
We see a bunch of yucks. Yeah. They don't last too long.
This is my worst, the worst part of my mind to this Nightwing run. Just the idea, now that Blockbuster is gone, which has been gone for a while, and Heartless is done running amok all over Blüdhaven, we have all of these underlings of pseudo crime families of Blüdhaven that want to work together to make sure that everybody's getting paid equally throughout the city and there's no gang wars and stuff like that. But the characters you have here that has been sitting in the background, the furry Mama Bear and her little teddies, or Boss Bludgeon and his clean-cut crew, or Dr. Proboscis and his Flyboys. He's a Seth Brundle. He's a fly man.
Yeah,
he has a bunch of fly man underlings.
Yeah.
Then you also have the Blockbuster gang. So I'm just, guys who used to work for Blockbuster that have broken off on their own here. Yeah, these are the big bads of Blüdhaven that Dick Grayson has to deal with for a time.
Boss Bludgeon looks like what I think Bibbo looks like on the weekends. He's got some crazy...
Boss Bludgeon, I want to think, is the younger brother of Bibbo who took a bad turn.
He took a bad turn. So you have this, and seriously, Mama Bear...
He didn't have a Superman in his life.
Mama Bear is but it has some big cans. But you end up where all this going on, I'm like, I hope that he plays it out, that they end up kind of get taken out anyway. I'm like, if we're dealing with Mama Bear for more than 3 issues, I'm out.
I'm telling you, exactly. The whole thing, when you get introduced to these assholes and Nightwing shows up, it's like, hey, anybody time for jail? I'm like, well, there's no way that Nightwing in my mind could take out all of these guys, especially with all their henchmen and goons at the meeting as well. But this is not the all-in Rebirth, I was about to say Rebirth, but the all-in DC Comics Blüdhaven that I want right now with these assholes. But thankfully, the puppeteer from Cirque du Sin, he sees all and knows all and wants to clear the freaking playing ground and has some plastic C4 ready and blows everybody sky high. And I don't even know how Nightwing makes it out alive.
Yeah, they want to make us believe that he just gets behind a table and gets blown out a window. I don't know that. It's very odd. And in that, you try to have some holy plastic explosives and then beep boop, Eric. It's like to get fresh. And he gets shot out of there, and Barbara's like, I didn't quite hear that last thing there. And he's like, I'm okay. I'm good. But somebody blew up the place. And
all the bosses of Blüdhaven have been killed.
And then he's like, just get my Captain, or actually Spock shirt ready. Because I'm coming back to get that. I swear to God, it
definitely
looked like
is a Spock shirt.
They were having a back and forth, because then you have the red shirt with this lady. It's crazy.
You put a little freaking Federation insignia on there, he is Spock.
Yeah, it is Spock. And that's the shirt that
sexy bones.
Actually, my buddy Pete had the Captain Kirk yellow shirt. But then he had the Spock ears just to drive people nuts. A couple of people were driven nuts by that, like one stork would have been. But yeah, you end up where it's very quick. And in this, too, I like the idea that they show you Melinda, obviously still the mayor, but she's going to be part of it. And a lot of people may be jumping on for the first time and reading this, and they're introducing you to some of the characters here. She's having a meeting with a certain lady who seems to be very into Dick Grayson when he shows
Olivia
up.
Pierce, the CEO of Spheric Solutions, a company that makes anti-superpower weapons that, like Melinda here, is about to arm the most corrupt police outfit in the world, Blüdhaven, with these whole things to take out superpowered beings. I'm like, Dick Grayson, he's not a happy fellow when he walks in on this meeting.
We've seen kind of this in Metropolis a bunch of times when you have Maggie Sawyer and things are going in. But again,
she's got a special crimes unit. That's better.
When he ends up looking at this, he's like, okay, this really could have been helpful about a month ago when we needed to take out these Amazos with superpowers because this is what these things are. But the idea where he's mad about it and ends up saying at one point, oh, you're the one who does that. If it feels like anything recent, it has a bit of an X-Men vibe. The idea of, going against the mutants, and we're going to get this. It's more superhero stuff here, but I think it's to up the ante for the police force. And that at one point says to Melinda, you're gonna arm the most corrupt police department in there. And she's like, whoa, bitch. Like, but she's having problems because she has to go for re-election
coming up, yeah.
And things haven't gone well. They really haven't. At this point, though, maybe you can say crime has been cleaned up a little because everybody's just blown up. But
everybody's dead now, so crime's pretty much good. But the problem is that's a boiling pot about to boil over because now with all the bosses dead, everybody's just going to war with each other. So it is blood on the streets.
So it's Blüdhaven war is what it is. It's not Gotham war. It's not gang war. It
is funny to have this idea, though, that it's a Nightwing book. We have a woman who's doing anti-superpower weapons. We're about to arm quiz. I'm like, oh, Nightwing, he's solid. He don't have to deal with any of this bullshit because he ain't got no superpowers. But, Olivia Pierce is like, there's the Justice League Watchtower full of godlike beings looming over us from space. And look, even right there, it's in Blüdhaven, Titan's Tower. That's why we relocated here. I'm like, because the superheroes showed up?
Because there's a Titan's Tower that was where a prison was and might be haunted still. I don't know if it's haunted still. But again, the idea, it is weird because the idea where you're showing up somewhere to manufacture the things there because it's weird. You don't need to be there to do this. It's just a setup.
It would have been cool to have some kind of foreshadowing, even though obviously this is a new run, you couldn't have this, but the idea that you'd have this in the background and maybe somebody who would arm like the stormtroopers of Amanda Waller doing absolute power, because this is kind of like right up the alley of the idea of like defending yourself against the superpowers.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I said. That's why I wanted Nightwing to say you're about 3 weeks late. We needed this stuff. Or like you said, Amanda Waller could have used it against the superheroes as well. But then old Spock, he heads out. It's Dick Grayson. He heads out and he's walking around. He's checking, but he wants to check in with the gangs because there is a gang war going on. And you end up where he shows up. And
the clean cut boys are fighting the Flyboys.
I'm telling you, like the idea that I was upset that Mama Bear or Proboscis, whatever
Dr. Proboscis,
that they would end up being around a lot, we're getting their cronies. I mean, that's might be worse. The idea, like, oh God,
Ford now, but with the idea that you have a bunch of furries beating up half man, half Flyboys. I mean, I'm like,
Flyboys.
Blüdhaven's crazy.
Somebody needs to help those guys out. I mean, the others are like, hey, look at me, I'm wearing a dapper haircut and I got a bowler cap. These people are they're half fly mutants. You have to help them.
I kind of want the idea, too, where we could retroactively put some of this continuity back into what we had before All In, where Dr. Proboscis was actually helping with the DNA stuff with the Man-Bat cult and Man-Bat for what he was working on.
Because sense.
We have half human, half fly freaking hybrids here, and like this is working the same way that we had before. And this is not a problem to anybody that we have these spliced people.
Somehow these guys have gathered after Beast War. They're like, oh my God.
Beast World?
Yeah, Beast World. They're like, oh my God, we were the assholes that got turned into flies. Let's get together. Let's go to, like you said, where she's with the manufacturing Pierce. You have the Flyboys. They're just there like shaking their fist at the Titan's Tower and Beast Boy.
Everybody who's a Flyboy goes about their life looking basically human, except for skin that's a shade of green, and giant red eyes.
Giant red eyes, and when they get mad, they
look like a fucking bunch of Invader Zim freaking cosplayers.
That's what they look like. They look completely. Or if you really were like upset,
Sleepwalker.
I'm looking at it. It does look like Sleepwalker too. But when you see them, I'm telling you, I think vampire at one point. That one guy with that purple hoodie looks like a vampire. It looks like a Dracula, that guy. But the Flyboys. But again, I mean, a lot of times disenfranchised people look for people to be a gang. I mean, if you're a fly man,
inject me with the fly juice.
What else the hell are you going to do but go to Blüdhaven now?
Look,
I think they have to be the tightest, right?
I need to freaking feel like I belong to something. There's a bunch of juggalos over there. Do I want to put on clown paint every? No, but you inject me with that fly juice. That's all I got to do. I'm a fly boy, baby.
I love the idea that you're the only one who's actually. You're like when what was it, Boomerang, when he actually joined back into the whole Suicide Squad. Wasn't it him that he wanted? You're the one who became a fly. To be a Flyboy, these guys have no other choice. That's why they've gathered. And you're an asshole is like, shoot me with the juice, boys. They're like, there ain't no juice. Like, this guy, he had this from Lazarus Reign. This guy got it from Beast World. Like, we're fucked. We're fly guys. Like,
Dr.
I went in.
Made all these men.
I don't know. I think they all have problems.
He had creations like under his image. He is the god of the Flyboys.
I like that he's drinking wine like he's a fancy fly guy. In that,
bitch.
You end up having like Boss Bludgeon. Okay, the Clean Cut Crew. These guys sound like a real bunch of wacko assholes. Like, yeah, and the idea where Dr. Proboscis, okay, they're Flyboys. They're stuck. Who the fuck is going with Mama Bear? And you see them in the back of they're just like you said. They look like what she has done is gone to every, what's it called, amusement park and said, hey, you're getting how much to dance around? Like,
hold on.
Come with me.
Beep, boop, boop. Ring.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Mascot Emporium. Hey, do you got any costumes? Oh, do we ever? All right, I'll be down in 5 minutes.
All right. Do you have a monkey prince? Because this one guy really has a hard on for that. That's what it looks like, the one. And the other's like, hey, come over
they're
here.
All teddy bears.
No, they're not. If you look behind her, you have a monkey, you have a bee, you have somebody else. This one guy, I'm telling you, that's like bee nasty. But they got a bunch of crazy shit going on there. So you end up where, they're all dead though. So that's the best. So they go in, and then Dick Grayson's there, and I get it that you're going to do like the Flyboy because you do kind of feel bad for him, but at least they kind of look badass. Like, I don't really think I want to see Dick Grayson beating the shit out of a bunch of amusement park mascots.
Bunch of furries.
I feel bad. They're just like dancing around, giving out flyers. But Dick Grayson, Nightwing, says, hey, everybody's having problems. You can call me if you need help. All
and
this.
That's the thing is, we continue the compassion that Tom Taylor brought to the book, but we're also, like Green Arrow, back to the streets, watching Nightwing kick ass and take names on his way to find out what the hell is going on.
Yep, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I mean,
And he didn't once call the Titans.
Yeah, really. He actually kicked the shit out of the Flyboys by himself. He's embarrassed.
And he kicked the crap out of them and the Teddies and all these other people. And when he was done doing the briefest of ass kickery, he also said, look, if you have any more problems, contact me. I'll come and break up. Why would you choose us over anybody else? Because this is how they talk, obviously.
God. Oh, my
God. But the thing is, I've given this option to everybody. We're not having a freaking gang war in Blüdhaven under my watch because this is Nightwing City.
And it is the thing that the one Flyboy, the Teddies from Mama Bear, that they end up finding out that a Flyboy was hustling the rock like they used to do. And in that, there is one guy who's a bull. They weren't, it doesn't look like they were all bears too, but there's a bunch of bears there as well. But they're just like, nobody's taking them seriously. Nobody is taking these guys seriously, except these guys.
That's why they have to make you take them seriously.
They're going full out. And even that, it might be a fox, but it does look like a bear. But they don't really go full out uniform. It's just the hats. But again,
the headgear.
If you ended up making it, like, go with you said already, with the whole deal in the Batman and Robin and the cult of the Man-Bat, but you also had that splicing stuff and the terrible trio.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been
I put that all together with the cult of Man-Bat for some reason. It all runs together.
And again, maybe you could have had them be something with Beast World as well, but they just look like they have oversized head things on from being mascots.
Oh, the Teddies, yeah. They're just furries.
Yeah. So then Dick Grayson from this gets right to it, and I'll give Dan Waters credit that the book does go at a pretty good pace.
And it doesn't feel like old Dan Waters that we've had. It feels like a brand new, all-in Dan Waters kicking the shit out of Nightwing. I mean, like, in a good way, obviously. And I'm like, And Dexter Soy is just adding this gravitas to the freaking artwork. And this, I'm like, I am loving the flow of this series so far. It's only one issue.
Yeah, it's one issue, and he goes in to check out because when you end up having the Miss Pierce who said, hey, Nightwing, or not Nightwing, hey, Dick Grayson, you're pretty hot. You want to come by, check out my factory anytime? You come on by. And he ends up where Babs is like, hey, you breaking and entering? No, I was invited. And that's not how it works, but it's fine.
Especially because when you do break in as Nightwing and not Dick Grayson, you're attacked by an Ed 209 from RoboCop.
That's what I was going to say. It's full out RoboCop. And it ends up blasting him and he's jumping around.
Not as cool, but it's still a big old robot with laser cannons coming at Dick Grayson.
Yeah, it looks like but it does look like that. And it's pretty cool. But you end up, even with that, where there are things going on, you end up seeing another bomb, and then you end up seeing that this, guy
Olivia Pierce and the Puppeteer are working together, and she's about to blow up her own Spheric solutions with Nightwing inside. But what does that do for the Puppeteer's, plans going forward?
I don't know. And why they're connected and what's going on, and, the big deal. What does a bird in a circus really mean? It means death. I'm like,
that's kind of a cool little thing, though, like having the Puppeteers kind of like monologue as we go through there where Nightwing fights the Ed 209, because like a curious mark for a circus boy to wear, the idea of the Nightwing symbol on his chest. The circus has its own language, its own code and beliefs, which all stem from us. So it seems, again, like Court of Owls stems back, how things work with the legends, but the Cirque du Sin is the origin of the circus. So tell us, faithful servant of the Cirque du Sin, what does a bird in the circus tent mean? It means death.
Yeah.
Boom.
I thought that was goofy. I'm just reading it. I'm like, yeah, okay. Again, it felt too Court of the Owls. It felt too a bunch of things that we've seen, but it was okay. And I like the issue. It ends up, if you want to have more action and feel like, the goofy stuff of that bunch of gangs were ridiculous. But
it's funny how goofy it is, and you blow them up immediately because they are so
goofy.
Go
through and they're goofy. But in the meantime, hopefully it continues and it gets better and better. But what would you give it?
I would give it a 7.9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 6.5. I'm a 6.5. I liked it enough. I get the compassion of giving these, comms to these guys, but I think they're all just throwing them in the river. They're not going to do anything with that bullshit. We'll see how. And I want to see that the connection between, Olivia Pierce and the Puppeteer, I want to see how that works and what's going on.
Obviously.
But as a start, it was okay. I didn't mind it, but I didn't like it as much as you, obviously.